Hi, I'm Kathy. My literacy question is, what happens when I use Reader's Theater as a fluency strategy in my second grade classroom? The context for my inquiry was my current second grade classroom, which consists of 8 students ranging in ages from 7 to 9 years old. There's a variety of reading levels from about a level J all the way up to about a level O. Most of my students do struggle with oral reading fluency. However, I do have 1 to 2 students that I would say exhibit very nice reading fluency. My purpose for conducting this literacy question was because I believe that oral reading fluency is a key component to reading comprehension. I also feel that if my students can learn to read fluently, they will have a better enjoyment for reading, therefore choosing to read for pleasure more often. I hope that at the end of this literacy inquiry that my students would exhibit better oral reading skills as presented during their Reader's Theater production at the end of the inquiry study. I will introduce Reader's Theater by engaging students in a discussion about what is theater. The class will participate in a discussion about their understanding of what theater is, what they like about theater, and finally, who has been a part of theater. Students will be given the opportunity to share ideas about times when they were a part of a theater itself or a performance that they've been a part of to help them make a connection. I will then explain to them what Reader's Theater is and help to come up with ideas of what is the same about Reader's Theater and regular theater and what is different. Examples of key differences will include lines are not memorized in Reader's Theater. It is not fancy, and costumes, props, and settings are optional. They are not required. However, the similarities include both Reader's Theater and regular theater are fun, they involve an audience, and everyone plays an important part. I'll explain to the students that Reader's Theater can help them with their oral reading by improving their fluency. We will read a book together, then we will discuss the script and the characters in depth. Through learning about the characters and their motivations, they will help understand their personalities and be able to read through the scripts with proper emotion. I will show them that our first script is based on the book Sheila Ray the Brave by Kevin Henkes. I'll read the book aloud to them, modeling proper fluency skills, such as volume, phrasing, intonation, and speed. As I read, I will stop at key points to discuss things like, how is Sheila acting now? How do you think this makes Louise feel? I also stop and allow for students to make predictions, such as points where Sheila says she is lost. At the end of the story, we'll discuss how the personality of the characters have changed over the course of the story. We'll then show students copies of the highlighted script and discuss the parts of the script. There will be Sheila Ray, Louise, and 2 narrators. We'll briefly discuss the idea that the narrator is helping to tell the story and filling in information so the reader or audience can better understand what is happening in the story. This script has 2 narrators. I will ask students to share their thoughts as to why. Expected answers would include to involve more students, to give each narrator a break, or possibly because the text is so long, and hopefully so that the narrator can read with proper fluency. Next, I will allow each student to choose a sentence strip on which I have previously written key lines for each of the readers. Each student will be given the opportunity to read these lines in a way they believe shows the meaning and emotion of the character. We will offer compliments and critiques for each reader to help guide future readings. I will wrap the lesson up by explaining that the next day students will receive their own copies of their scripts and roles. On day 2 of instruction, students will gather on the carpet as we quickly review the key elements of what Reader's Theater is. Students will be separated into 2 groups of 4. They will work together over the course of the week and then perform together on the following Friday. The scripts will be highlighted by part and handed out to each student. Parts have been previously assigned by the teacher. For the first group reading, we will use choral reading to read through the entire script together. I will be modeling proper expression as I read with the students. During our choral reading, I will monitor for any words that seem to be challenging and address them accordingly. Students will be given an opportunity to work with the person reading the same role as them. They will be asked to practice their lines together as well as to think about the emotion the character should represent during the reading. During this time, they will be asked to look further at vocabulary to ensure they can read each word as well as understand the meaning and context. Students will work with their assigned group and read through the entire script. I will circulate between the groups to monitor for cooperation, appropriate reading expression, and look for areas of weakness that may need to be addressed further. On day 3, students will be asked to gather on the carpet with their scripts. I will ask students how they're feeling about Reader's Theater and answer any questions. We will then discuss how we would like to hold our performance, where it should take place, and who they would like to invite. It is important for Reader's Theater to have an ending, an actual time where they produce their theater, so that students know that there's an end point and they're excited about it. We will break into 2 separate groups. While one group practices their read through, I will meet with the other. This will specifically address what proper intonation sounds like. I will model specific parts that require a lot of expression and tone change, and then allow the reader to copy my reading. I will do this with each group member of the group and switch groups to repeat. The Reader's Theater script I chose to read was Sheila Ray the Brave by Kevin Henkes. I'm sure most of us are familiar with this text. And it was available in a Reader's Theater script. And what I did for each student was highlighted their role throughout the script so that at a quick glance they knew which version they were reading. For myself, I kept a script that was highlighted just to keep track of all the different parts, and then had it noted who was reading for each area. On day 4, students will gather again with their scripts ready to do their read-through. They will begin practicing with their groups. I will circulate and monitor as they read. I will provide support and further instruction as needed in areas of fluency. I'll remind students to be mindful of their character's personality and how that should be portrayed in a reading model. Students will be given time to practice for the read-throughs and then reconvene on the carpet to discuss the final day performance details. On day 5, students will be given an opportunity to have a quick run-through of their lines prior to the audience attending. Our audience has been decided to consist of the first grade class, along with any students that are not performing, as well as our class buddy and the head of school. The first narrator will begin the performance by showing the book, sharing the title and author, as well as state the characters in the story. The students will be able to independently present the Reader's Theater to the audience. At the completion of one group, the next group will take their place and present their version. At the end of both performances, there will be a question and answer session with the audience to help provide feedback on how the performances went. As far as my reflection goes in regards to this mini inquiry, I was really impressed. I felt that my students did show significant improvement in their oral reading fluency. One of the things I felt most proud of was one student in particular I noticed was showing his reading fluency ability outside of the Reader's Theater across the board throughout the day, whether it was just reading directions or reading a math word problem. I found that he was using these oral reading skills that we had learned throughout the last 2 weeks. So I felt very impressed by that. Another piece that I felt really proud of was when we actually held our Reader's Theater. We had invited a few people to come along as well as another class, and my head of school had noted to me afterwards how she was impressed with the students' use of the literacy terms and that they showed a great understanding. They talked about things such as their phrasing, their pausing, their intonation, speaking with proper volume, using the expression, and using that expression to show the emotion of the characters. So I felt very proud of that. One of the negative things that came up that I found was one student in particular just could not get across the idea that it was Reader's Theater and not just theater. And so he continually wanted to act and really play up the parts opposed to really reading and just using the reading fluency skills. But I guess that's something that is always going to happen with some students. I hope that you will try out using Reader's Theater in your classroom. It's not intimidating. It's definitely something that's easy to bring into your class, and it has a lot of cross-curricular implications. So good luck. Thanks.